Jai Hind class. Welcome to today's online biology class for grade 8. Today we are going to start the new lesson microorganisms. Topic microorganisms, what and where. Before starting the lesson, let's see a quotation. Every thought you think and every word you say forms a command, and your mind start working to make that command real. Our mind is like a computer. Whatever the command you give it, it will do that. So if you say the good things, positive words, then it is going to do the same. If you are saying negative things, negative thoughts, then it will follow the same. So if you say, I can do it, your mind will surely do it. If you say that I can't do it, I won't do it, so your mind is going to take that command and do the same. It is not going to do anything for you. So be positive, give good thoughts to your mind, and stay positive. With this positiveness, we will start today's lesson. Before going to the lesson, let us recapitulate the previous topic, where we have learnt cell is the basic unit of the life and all living things are made up of cells. And in the previous class we learned that organisms are of two types depending upon the number of cells it contains, unicellular and multicellular organisms. And Robert Hooke is the person who discovered and coined the term cell. He described about the cell in his book called Micrographia. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek is the first person to discover and observe the living microorganisms and living cells under his own microscope. This is what we learned in the previous class. So, let us start today's class. Before that, let me ask you a question. Nowadays, you are hearing a word. It's become a boom now. COVID-19. What is COVID-19? More than COVID-19, you might have heard a word coronavirus. This is same. The disease caused by coronavirus is termed as, in short term, COVID-19. CO here indicates corona, VI, virus, D means disease. As it was discovered in 2019, it was given the code 19. So, what is this coronavirus? Did you see that? How do you think scientists discovered this new virus? Can we see the virus? Do you think are there any other organisms which we can't see? What are these invisible things called? If we can't see them with the naked eye, then how can we see them and know their existence? If they are so small that cannot be seen with the naked eyes, can we call them as living things? We are going to learn answers to all these questions, right? In our new lesson, The World of Microorganisms, Part 1. This is a screenshot of our biology textbook of the new lesson, Chapter 3, The World of Microorganisms. In this session, we are going to learn about the microorganisms for sure. Before that, we are going to learn about the microscope and its story, and then discovery of microorganisms. What is microscope? It is an instrument which makes smaller objects to appear in larger. Actually, the definition we read in the textbooks is like this. Microscope is an instrument which helps us to see the smaller objects. So, what is microscope in detail? Micro. We can divide microscope into two keywords. One is the micro and another is scope. Micro means very small. You usually see this word micro like in your phone, micro SIM, or the memory card which you keep in your mobile. It has this word micro SD card. Micro means very small, right? Wherever the word micro comes, it means very small. So You hear this same micro in another keywords in our higher classes like micronutrients and microorganisms. Our lesson name itself have the micro means very small organisms. The second keyword is scope. Scope is the term used for an instrument for observing and viewing. You might have heard the word telescope. Telescope, which we use to see the distant stars and objects in the solar system. Right? Another word, stethoscope. Stethoscope. Again, here is the word scope. Means these are helping in observing or viewing something. So, our what is the meaning of microscope? It is an instrument. It is an instrument for observing very small things. Very small things. So, what are the important parts of the microscope? The main part which makes the microscope to make smaller objects appear in larger is lens. It is a very important part of the microscope. Any microscope, whatever the advanced microscopes or the earlier microscopes, first the main part is lens. This lens word you will hear, you might have heard like in camera, right? This is the camera I have here, so you can see this one. This part is called as lens, right? Even in your mobile you can see the lens at the back of the camera, like phone, where the camera is present, right? So how this lens appears? What is lens? A piece of glass or a transparent material with curved surfaces. Actually, the piece of glass you see is in your house mirror. It's a straight, right? Here, the same glass, if it has the curved surface, then that is called as lens. We have more physics terms to learn here, but we are not going to learn in deep depth here. Just we want to know here is what is lens. It is a piece of glass with a curved surface. So there are two types of surfaces in the lenses, convex and concave. So if you think that this is a glass, okay, for example, this curve, it is showing like this, right? This curve is called as convex. What it is? Convex. The same curve, if it is like this groove, you can see here groove like this, right? This inside groove is called as concave. Upward bulge is called as convex and inward bulge is called as convex, right? So here you can see one convex lens here, if the two different convex lenses are present like this, surfaces are present like this, then it is called as biconvex lens, right? So this is the basic of lens. Every microscope will have lens, right? So how many number of lenses are present? Depending upon that, we can classify microscope into two types. Simple microscope will have only one lens. This is the earlier microscopes used to have such type of single lens. Now comes the microscope which we see in our laboratories is just like this. This compound microscope means the microscope which has two or more than two lenses. Then they are called as compound microscope. So this is the microscope we see in our labs. It has two lenses. First one is eyepiece lens, which is also called as ocular lens, and another lens is present here. Here you are seeing three knobs here, right? So each knob is called as a objective lens. So how many lenses are present in the compound microscope? Here two lens, eyepiece lens or ocular lens and objective lens. Again, this each lens, that is ocular lens and objective lens, each lens is which type of lens? Is it a biconvex or a biconcave? It is the biconvex. See, the curve is outside, bulge is outside. So that's why it is called as biconvex lens. So the lens which are present in the compound microscope are biconvex lens. So the most important term when we are dealing with the microscope is magnification and resolution. We have already discussed in the previous slide when we are learning the definition for microscope. This instrument will make us the smaller things appear large. That capacity is called as magnification. How big it can make the image, that is called as magnification, right? And this magnification depends upon the lens we use in the both eye lenses and objective lens. So each lens have different types of capacity of magnifying. For example, one type of eye lens here is 4x and another lens is here of 10x power and another is 40x. Even we have 100x capacity, magnification capacity possessing lens. Okay, so in the next slide we'll see about it very clearly. If we place 10x eyepiece lens here and adjust 10x objective lens here, then the object which you place here is going to appear 10 into 10, 100 times. What? 100 times larger. So if we are using 4x here and here 10x, then what is going to happen? 4 into 10, 40x. X means times. 40 times larger image we can get through this adjustment. Again here 10 and here 40, 400 times, like that. So the magnification depends upon the type of lenses we are placing in the eyepiece and also in the objective lens, right? So finally we got the word microscope is an instrument which makes the smaller things to appear in the bigger sizes, larger sizes. How we can do that? With the help of different types of lenses, right? So coming to the history of the microscope. So starting with the late 16th, early 16th century, this microscope was made by the Janssen brothers. Then comes the story of Robert Hooke. This is the slide which you have seen in the previous class. Robert Hooke microscope, he used compound microscope here. So two lenses were used in his microscope. Even in these 16th century, when he was working, the images were not so clear because of the lenses they are using. So then comes the man Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. This is a screenshot of our lesson. So he is the Anthony van Leeuwenhoek. So he is the person who used single lens but powerful lens. Powerful lens which was able to magnify the things 300 to 400 times, whereas Robert Hooke microscope, which has two lenses, it is able to magnify only 40 to 50 times. So the magnification capacity is more in the Leeuwenhoek's microscope. Even though it is very small, you can see him carrying in his hand here. This is the microscope which he held here in front of his eye to focusing on the specimen in front of the light. I used the word specimen. Specimen means the object which we want to observe. So this is the one. You have to place like this. So here is the lens, small circle. Through that we can see our specimen. Here is the objective lens. Our eye will be here. We can place a specimen here, and you can see like this. The object whatever you are keeping here, right, it is going to appear more than its size, larger, right, like 10 times, 100 times, 400 times, 40 times larger, because of the powerful magnifying lens he is using. If you see in this instrument, only one lens is used. That's what is called a single lens microscope, but it is very powerful. So when Leeuwenhoek was observing pond water under the microscope, he saw small moving creatures. He called them as dirkens or animalcules. Animalcules means small animals. And in the days, there are the only two types of living things for them, plants and animals. Among these two, animals are the only one who is moving. So he called these moving creatures as small animals. So these are the some pictures which were made by the Antony van Leeuwenhoek when he was making observations under his own microscope. So this is the picture of the bacteria he drawn in his observation book. So these animalcules which he observed under his microscope, moving creatures, these were called later as bacteria. So he observed so many moving creatures, different types of moving creatures. Some of them were named as bacteria and some of them were named as protists. What are these two? We are going to learn in our next class. So his observations were published in the book in the name of Philosophical Transactions. These are some drawings of his findings, and this is his microscope. See how small it is, that can be fit into your hand. So next is, what are microorganisms? As we discussed, micro means very small. Organisms which are so small, organisms that are so small which cannot be seen with our naked eye are called as microorganisms. Naked eye means as such eye, no support, like no spectacles, no magnifying lens, anything with eye as such, without any help. We cannot see such with such organisms. How can we see them? They can be seen only through the microscope. So why they are so small and why they cannot be seen and with our naked eye means because their body structure is made up of either one cell or very less number of cells. In the previous session, we learned that the size of the organism depends upon the number of cells it carries, right? So these microorganisms, either they have only one cell or very few cells. That's why they are very small in size. So where we can see these microorganisms? Everywhere. Answer is everywhere. Microorganisms can be found in the air, water, soil, everywhere. They can be present in the higher temperatures or the lower temperatures. If you go to Himalayas or very cold temperatures, there also we can see the microorganisms. And like hot springs, even there also we can see the microorganisms. So microorganisms are present everywhere. Even in ads they will show. Even now they are saying wash your hands with the soap, because your surfaces of the body may contain number of microorganisms which we can't see with our naked eye, right? So study of microorganisms is called microbiology. So what are the keywords we learned in this session? Microorganisms, microscope, and microbiology. Summary of this session: what we have learned today: microorganisms are very minute living things. We cannot see them with our naked eye. We can see microorganisms only through the microscope. Anthony van Leeuwenhoek invented the powerful single lens microscope. Microbes are present everywhere in our surroundings. They live in water, soil, air, and even in the ice cold climate to hot springs. So these are the objectives of the lesson. At the end of the lesson, I expected you to define microorganisms, and you should be able to define what is microscope and draw a neat label diagram of microscope. I hope you will be able to do all this, right? Hope you have a great learning time. Meet you in the next class.